If you ever thought about buying a house at an online auction, like the ones you see on Zillow, don't. They're basically a scam, and I'm gonna go over in this video all the things they do to stack it against the buyer to make it so tough to buy these properties. So what we're looking at right now is this property right here, 10710 Chimney Rock Road. So if you were to click on this on Zillow, you would see that it's super cheap for the area, but then when you click on it, you'll see it's auctioned by Xome. And it's gonna go under auction, and it doesn't have any photos of the house. It just has these two photos of the exterior. It gives you a description right here that it's a single ranch style single family home. Foreclosure has been recorded. No buyer premium, blah, blah, blah. So if we go to Xome, this is the actual website for this property. And you're gonna have to register for the auction. So if you click on the register tab, you have to sign up and create an account. I already created an account before this video, so it can be a little quicker. So since I've already created an account and registered and verified my identity, I can immediately start bidding on these properties. But let's take a look at this property first. So off the bat, we have the same two photos that we had on Zillow right here. Just shows the front of the house and the street it's on. That's really all it does. It has the same description. Basically, I can't visit the property. It's a criminal offense of trespass on the property. I can select my own title company. I have to pay all closing costs. And then if you go down here, it has some basic information. It's a single family home, 3 beds, 2 baths, no interior access. So you cannot go and see the home before buying it or bidding on it. It's a blind sale, buy it as is, without any idea of what the house looks like. So this obviously eliminates 95% of your buyer pool, as most people looking for a home won't want to buy something sight unseen with no inspections. However, as an investor and knowing the market, this is something I'm interested in if I can get a good enough deal. So you do see that the occupancy status is occupied, so most likely you're gonna have to evict whoever's living there once you buy the property, which then, makes it even harder for someone to buy this house. So it shows right here, it's a cash only sale, no buyer's premium. So you can see it's a first look property. What that means is only owner occupants can buy the property or bid on the property for the first 2 weeks before investors can bid on it. So if you want to click on it for more information, it says during the first look period, only offers from select purchasers are determined by the seller will be considered. So if you go over to this page, it'll explain it more in detail that only eligible buyers and owner occupants dedicated to assessing more affordable housing will have exclusive first look access to bid on the selected auction property. It's basically a program that was created to generate more chances for owner occupants to purchase these bank-owned properties that are foreclosed on. So if you want to look more about it, you can just Google first look properties and it'll go over it. But for me personally, I am looking for a personal residence and I'm looking for a 1-story home. And this neighborhood isn't my ideal neighborhood, but if I get a good deal on it, I'll live here. So I will still bid on this property. Now, if you come down here, they have their own Xome value estimate. It's kind of like Zillow's own Z estimate. It's their own proprietary way of estimating the value. And they value the house at $340,000. Now, you don't want to trust these as it's not 100% accurate. You want to always run your own comps to see what the property is worth. So if I went on the MLS and ran comps, I see right here a house sold for $380,000 that was smaller, but it was fully renovated. You can see from the pictures here, nice new windows, new floors, new paint, ceiling fans, new cabinets, new countertops, renovated home. So since my house is bigger, I can assume a fully renovated house for this one would be around $400,000. And then I'm just gonna assume it needs a full rehab. But since I have MLS access, I can actually see what the house looked like the last time it sold. So if we go to dashboard, 10710 Chimney Rock. So we're gonna type that in. Let's look at this one right here that's expired. Go to 360 history. This was the most recent listing right here. So they tried to sell it for $318 and it didn't sell. So let's see what the pictures looked like. So the exterior doesn't really look that bad, to be honest, looking at it right now. The garage doors are a bit outdated, so I'd probably update that. But everything else doesn't look bad. Okay, it's got those outdated AC vents, but it's got some recessed lightings, although it's the older mid-2000s ones. And it's got wood floors, not my personal favorite, but Okay, it's got these old separations in the walls. It's not an open floor plan, but that's an easy fix on adding a beam and making it open. And I can't tell if that's sheetrock or like paneling on the walls because it has that weird lines right here, so I can't really tell. The kitchen tile floors are a little ugly. Cabinets are older, but like mid-2000s kind of granite. So it doesn't look like it's in bad shape. It's just outdated. This kitchen. Got a pantry right here. Not really bad shape at all. It's got granite, stainless steel appliances. I guess this is the primary bedroom because you have the in-suite bathroom right here. 8-foot ceilings is standard, not my favorite. I prefer high ceilings as my current house has 12-foot ceilings. This shower is remodeled in a sense, but that's like the mid-2000s colors. Beige. It's still like 20 years outdated. It's like a 2005 shower, not 2025. So it's actually not in bad shape. Looking at the photos, and when was this listed? This was listed May of 2024, so about a year ago, just under a year ago. So that means they're pretty recent photos. So it's really not in bad shape. So my renovation is not as much as I thought it would be. So I could probably offer a little more on this house. And since I have access to MLS, which not everyone does, that gives me an advantage because everyone else can just see the outside of this older picture and be kind of scared. They might assume worst case, full gut renovation. But now I see it's not that bad. And the bid is actually active right now. So you see time remaining. It shows us 3 more days left in this auction. The starting bid is 170, so no one has bid it yet because I can still bid 170. And the reserve is not met. So the reserve is basically the minimum price that the bank will accept because probably the mortgage on the house when they foreclosed on it was higher than 170. Let's say the mortgage was 220. They'll probably only accept anything close to 220 to get their money back. So you see here, the highest bid at the conclusion of auction will be sent to the seller for review. Estimated cost, you need to have earnest money of $5,100. No trespassing, don't disturb the occupants, you can't look at the house, etc. The bidding started April 5th to April 9th, so today's April 6th. So it's been 1 day and no one's bid on the property. They have things like rental valuation, I wouldn't trust that. Price and tax history, area statistics, market trends. They do have comparable market analysis on sales. I don't know how accurate this is. So there's no sales price right here on the sold price because Texas is a non-disclosure state. So you cannot see what houses sell for unless you're a realtor. Okay, right here, auction disclaimers. Let's go over this. The auctioneer may bid on behalf of the seller up to the amount of the reserve price by placing successive or consecutive bids for a property or by placing bids in response to other bidders. Any such bids placed by the auctioneer will not result in a winning bid. Wow, so that is huge. So basically, the person running the auction can put in bids for the seller to jack up and have a bidding war up until you hit the reserve price. So although it's listed for 170, and if no one else bids on it but me at 170, we saw that the reserve price was not met. So what happens is the auctioneer will start throwing in bids, 180, 190, 200, and they can bid back to back. They can throw in a 180 and then throw in a 190 to make it look like there's multiple people bidding up the property, and that is trying to get me to say, okay, let me do 200, and then they'll do 210, 220. And let's say the reserve price is 230, they might throw in a 230, but after that, they can't bid anymore because they met the price they want. So that's really shady because you can't tell who's bidding. You just see a bid has been made and you can offer a higher bid. So they're trying to have people jack up and have a bidding war until they get the price they want. It literally says right here that the auctioneer can place bids on behalf of the seller and can place successive or consecutive bids for a property in response to other bidders. So you don't even know if you're bidding against real people or if the seller is putting in fake bids to jack up the price on these auction homes. And then another key point right here, title to this asset will be conveyed to the buyer via quitclaim deed with no express or implied warranties of title. So not even giving you a standard special warranty deed, they're giving you a quitclaim deed, which is a lot quicker and easier, but there's less protection for you as the buyer taking title. So they're not even giving you title with a legitimate deed. They're just giving you a quick sign some papers over to you, and it could be title issues that you don't know about. So of course, I can buy my title insurance at my own cost, and if I don't cause any delays, I can get a special warranty deed from my own title company if I can do it quick enough. So the property is being sold in as-is condition where the condition is unknown and may include defects, possible health or safety hazards, or debris, or located in a special flood hazard area. As you can see here, it says there are no inspection or financing contingencies, so it has to be a cash offer, no inspections. I assume all responsibility and liability for any occupancy and taking possession. So if I have to evict them, it's all on my cost, not on the seller. Property may be subject to at least interests or other rights to claim of various tenants or occupants. So I have to uphold any leases that the tenant signed with the previous owners. And if it's occupied right now, I don't know if the homeowners or if the tenants, but it could be something where I'm stuck with the property for a little bit. Right here, no physical access or ability to conduct inspections prior to purchase. Buyer assumes all risk. All right, so that's kind of everything that we've gone through. And it's just really, all these disclaimers is super heavily favoring the seller. And it's not favoring the buyer. You can't see the property. It has to be cash. You can't do inspections. You have to assume the leases. You can't even get a regular deed. You have to get a quick claim deed unless you have a title company that can do it quick enough. They can bid against you as the seller. All these things make it so hard to win one of these houses through auction and not lose your money. So that's why most beginners will never do an auction, and I think most investors shouldn't do an auction as well. You really have to know your rehab numbers and assume the worst case scenario to even buy these auction homes. I think 100% regular homeowners should not buy auction, and 95% of investors should not either. So all that being said, I don't see a single bid on it, and it's been over a day of auction. So I'm just gonna put a bare minimum bid of 170, and it's gonna say the reserve not met. So it probably will have the auctioneer itself bid against me to try to raise the price of the reserve price, but I'm not gonna bite. If it goes over 185, 190, I'm out, I'm gonna stick to my numbers and not chase a deal. Right here, I'll just click bid now. Since this is a first look program, you have to either be an owner occupant, an approved nonprofit, or government entity. So I'm gonna say I'm an owner occupant. I will bid 170, $5,000 earnest money. It's a first look program. I test and place bid. Congratulations, you are the highest bidder. Well, because no one else has bid on the property yet. So there's still 3 days left in the auction, and I think in the last 24 hours is when the auctioneer will start self-bidding to get it up to the reserve price, and the highest bid at the conclusion will be sent to the seller for review. Done. So boom, now the current bid is 170, and it says I am the highest bidder, and it's offering me to bid up higher again. But of course, I'm not gonna bid. And that is the whole process of bidding on Xome. All right, so this morning I woke up and got 2 emails saying I was outbid on 2 different properties. So let's take a look. So this is the email. It's saying I was outbid on this address. So my original bid was $170,000 and someone bid 1 times up. But if you take a look over here, so this email is sent at 8:51 a.m., right? If I go to my next email, exact same time, 8:51 a.m., it says I was outbid on a different property, 11407 Overbrook at 192.5. So the chances of someone outbidding me at the exact same time for 2 different properties that are only first look, so only government approved entities or first time home buyers can bid on it, seems really suspect. And I think it's just the auctioneer trying to up the bid to make me feel pressure on being missing out on the property or something. So I'm not gonna bite, I'm gonna wait it out. There's still 2 days left in the auction, so we'll see what happens. So update, there's less than 13 minutes left before the auction ends, and the price has not changed. And I believe it's still just the auctioneer's bid against mine. So I'm gonna wait, like I said, to the last minute and put in an auction bid for $200,000. All right, so the auction came to an end, and it ended up selling for $240,000. And there was a lot of bidding the last 5 minutes. It was like shooting up, and I was waiting to the last second. And the last bid I put in was $215,000. All right, so I think my offer of $215,000 was a strong offer. Although it sold for $240,000, I'm not sure if it's a real person or just the auctioneer bidding up to get to the reserve amount. Now, if a real person did buy it at $240,000, then congratulations to them, but I really don't think so. And it makes sense because the house sold for $250,000 back in 2018, so the mortgage amount is probably $240,000. Now, the bank might want to negotiate with me if I am the highest real offer and try to meet me halfway, like $225,000, or they could play hardball and then go to another auction, but this time it's not first look. This time any investor, any non-owner occupant can bid on it, and I think it'll go higher, even over $260,000, $270,000. So we'll see what happens, and I'll keep you guys posted. All right, guys, quick update on the auction property. Remember, it got bid up to $240,000, and it still said reserve not met, and that I had lost the bid because I only bid $215,000. Well, after a week of offer under review, it went back to auction again. The same house that I'm trying to get the homestead for, it went back under auction, and this time it was no first look. That means any investor can bid on it, not just first-time homeowners. So now I can bid on it as an investor, so I have the opportunity to either flip it if I don't want to live there, or move in and live there like a personal residence like I thought I would. And that just gives me more flexibility. So I registered back for the auction. Once again, it started at $185,000, same price. So I did that same initial bid. And this time, I think there was a real bidder against me because I got a notification the next day that someone else had placed a higher bid. So I bid in at 200, then someone bid in against me the last day to 2075, so I put in 215. And then I was out and about during the day, and the auction ended at like 1 p.m., but I was busy all day. So I just threw in the offer anyways at 230, even though it's higher, because it's still a good location, and based on the last picks I saw on the MLS, it's in decent shape. But when I checked my phone, I actually had a voicemail that was from an unknown number, right? So I don't pick up numbers I don't know, and I was out and about and busy anyways. And it was actually from Xome.com, the auction. The first voicemail was the typical, hey, the auction's ending soon. You've been outbid, go bid, right? Trying to entice you to pay more. But the second voicemail I got was super interesting because basically it says that after I made that $215,000 offer, they had called me and left a voicemail basically saying that I've been outbid, but they asked me if I can come up on my bid because it was still a little under than what the seller's reserve was. So I'm wondering, why would you come and call me if someone bid $222,500, right? Because it goes up in 7,500 increments. Why would you call me, the bid for 215, asking if I can come up a little more? And it's probably because it was one of those auction-generated bids on behalf of the auctioneer to try to jack up the price. That's why they called me, because they knew that was a fake bid that they put in to try to just generate, urgency. And I have like the voicemail right here. Let's see if I can play it.
Hi, good afternoon, Adriel. This is Betsy calling you from the Xome auction. I was just giving you a quick courtesy call regarding your bidding on 11407 Overbrook Lane in Houston. You last placed a bid for $215,000 that has been outbid. And I was just reaching out to see if there was a possibility you could increase your bid some more, since it does remain under the seller's reserve. However, if you'd like to discuss or share any type of concerns that you may have, you can also call me directly on this line.
So what that sounds like to me is that if I had gotten that voicemail, I probably could have negotiated them to take 215 or like 218, but I had already bid 230 because when I got back, I saw it was at 222.5, and I just clicked bid 230, and then it went above 230. It went higher than 230, but I said no, I'm cutting it off at 230, and lo and behold, I won the auction at 230. So I probably could have shaved like 10K off the price if I had gotten to that voicemail at first, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna show you guys, I guess, what the next steps are if you actually win this auction. So as you can see on the computer screen right here, it says, here's the address, auction ended, you are the highest bidder. And my final bid was $230,000, offer under review, but it says the reserve is still not met, which is the minimum price the seller is willing to accept for a property. This is the email I got saying, congratulations, you are the highest bidder at 230. What's next? Complete the checkout form within 24 hours, review instructions, and gather supporting documents. Then I got another email here saying, urgent checkout form due, express checkout form, please fill it out ASAP. So I'm here on my dashboard and it says post auction, checkout form, and seller review. So that's what I'm gonna click on. And unless this house is absolute trash, this should be a good deal, because if you can see here, this is the MLS comps, and this house is right here on Overbrook Lane, somewhere around here. And you have one on the same street, similar size, listed at 470. That's probably overpriced. It won't sell at 470, but that's a very similar layout and design, and it's fully remodeled, and I'm getting mine for 230, right? And you can see here, sold at 380, 350, 345, 334, 395, 335 pending. This one's exact same square footage and layout, sold for 360. So it looks like 325 is the lowest sold in that neighborhood in the last year. So I feel good about it, getting at 230. Now, let's do this checkout form. So it says auction ended, highest bidder, 230. Let's do the checkout form. So I have to create a purchase profile. Actually, I'll put home buyer, individual, $230,000. They want a proof of funds or pre-qualified document. So they basically want a proof of funds or a pre-approval letter from whoever's financing the deal, but it's a cash deal, so it's gonna be proof of funds. So I uploaded a proof of funds, hit continue. Then I want to use my own title company. So right here, title information. It was pre-populated with their title company, but I do want to use my title company so I can get a special warranty deed and I trust them to check if there's any other liens on the property. And they can do it quick. And they already have all my information, so that's why I'm going to use my own title company. Title company name is Exodus Title. Contact name is Francis Zaragoza. All right, so it says these are the disclaimers, which was what we went over last time. It's basically saying, hey, we can bid on behalf of the seller as the auctioneer. Everything, like I said, that title is going to be a quit claim deed. I do not want that. I want a special warranty deed, and I'm going to get that with title insurance from my title company because I know they can do it within the time frame that is needed. As is, no inspections, no financing contingencies. I'm doing cash purchase anyways, so that's okay. Earnest money is 3% of the purchase price or minimum of $3,000. So it's going to be $3,000 as this house is less than $300,000. Property may be subject to a lease, like a rental, etc. Assume all responsibility and liability for the occupancy. It is saying that it's supposed to be occupied, so it's probably the homeowners. I don't think it's renters, but we'll see. I'll probably have to go through an eviction. No trespassing, no access, no agent commissions, yada, yada, yada. So I accept. Will this property be owner occupied? I will put no for now, as I am not sure if I'm staying there or not. But actually, yes, I'll put yes, because if I'm going to keep it, I'm going to live there. If I'm not going to keep it, I'm going to sell it, but it doesn't matter because it's not a first look property anymore. It's now open to investors as well. So it doesn't matter if I flip it or if I keep it. Proof of funds, everything's good. I'll hit submit. So basically it says, thank you for submitting the offer. We'll review your offer and notify you after the contract is ready and available for your signature. All right, so now I just gotta wait and see what happens with this house. I assume they will send the contract and then we will go from there. And what I'm gonna do now is just probably drive by the house now that I'm about to go under contract and take a quick look from the outside. So I will keep you guys posted on the rest of the process, but I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to win the auction. But this just goes to show how much, I wouldn't say scam, but how shady these auction companies are, doing all these fake bids to try to drive up the price twice in a row on this house. And I'm sure they do it to every single auction on the website. And like I said, that's why it's not recommended for beginners to do this. So literally like 30 minutes after I submitted that form, I got an email saying your bid was declined for this house. But then I got an immediate follow-up email from Xome that said the bid was rejected in error when the seller wanted to provide a counter bid to the buyer. Please wait 15 minutes and then they're going to send me a counter from the seller. So this probably happened because we didn't meet the reserve amount, which is the minimum price the seller would sell the property for. So even though I won the bid at $230, I think the reserve is probably like $250 to $260, and they're going to send me a counter bid to try to get me up higher. But I'm already at basically my limit at $230 for what I'm comfortable with on this house, considering it's sight unseen. So I'm just gonna hold firm, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. All right, so I just got an email with the counter from the seller. Let's take a look. They're saying, thank you for your auction participation. Your bid was presented to the seller, and the seller responded with the following counter. I bid $230,000, and the seller countered with $245,700. Please respond to this email ASAP today. Please note this is not a rejection notice, but rather a counter to your bid. So 247 is kind of high. I don't think I would take that, but it is cheap because a smaller house sold there, like completely outdated, for like 260. So this house, being how big it is, would definitely fly off the market at that price at 247. All right, so yesterday I emailed them back on their counter saying I was firm at $230,000, and now I got another email explaining why the seller won't budge on this property. Let's go over it. So this is the email I got. It said, hello, thank you for your auction participation and response. As an effort to guide you as an experienced auctioneer for 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 Second Chance Properties, only bids in the range of $238,000 to $246,000 will likely be entertained for the reasons below. Otherwise, the asset will remain in auction until we source a bidder within the threshold of this asset, or this asset is conveyed back to HUD and removed from inventory. Please advise if you're able to increase within the range in order to have a bid reviewed for consideration. So then they break down what is a 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 Second Chance asset. This is a 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 Second Chance asset where the loan is backed by the HUD and the reserve is set by HUD, unlike traditional REO assets on the Xome site. So since this mortgage, I guess, is owned by HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, the US government, that they set the reserve one time and they don't change it. The seller will be reimbursed by HUD the total debt along with the cost to cure the property when it is conveyed back to HUD upon completion of property preservation. While waiting for the property to convey back to HUD, the seller or bank attempts to sell the asset through auction in the interim. The seller or bank does not get updated values like a traditional REO property, and the reserve is set once by HUD. Only if the asset goes vacant will new values be done sometime. That confirms that it's an occupied asset right now. These values are firm and do not change as market demand changes nor with bidding activity, as these values are set one time by HUD no matter how old they are. The values will not be adjusted either for any findings specific to the property that you may be aware of. Unless the property goes vacant, sometimes new values are received as indicated in the bullet above. There is no incentive for seller to accept below these minimum thresholds set by HUD, irrelevant of market changes or bidding activity, because the seller or bank will ultimately be reimbursed by HUD, the total debt and cost to cure property when it conveys back to HUD. So if it's not sold through auction, it's just gonna go back to HUD and HUD will pay all the costs to the bank. So what this basically means is banks normally do a short sale where if they're about to foreclose on a property or they do foreclose on, they'll take a little less than the actual loan amount just to recoup their money. They don't wanna be sitting on the property. They're not property managers, they're banks. They just wanna have loans. So let's say this house foreclosed at $240 as the loan amount. They'll probably take $220 to $230 if it's a cash quick sale just to recoup their money. But since this isn't a traditional mortgage owned by the bank, it's owned by and backed by the federal government, HUD, then it doesn't matter. HUD is still gonna pay the mortgagee, the lender, the bank, the full $240,000 plus their foreclosure costs. So there are no rush, there's no motivation to sell it for anything less than. So we gotta rerun the numbers and see what we can do. So it sounds like 240 is the bare minimum, or 238. And it says, the pricing and numbers are firm and asset will continue through the auction process until a bidder is sourced that can bid the firm pricing or the property is conveyed by HUD. So basically I'm looking at a $45,000 profit. If it sells for $425,000 and I spend $100K on the rehab, and $100K should be able to fix this whole thing up. It's not in that bad shape. I can probably get new roof, full interior remodel, new windows, new AC, all that. I really want to stick to my 230. I think that was really my max. I'm just debating, is it worth it? And I know I want it for a personal home as well. And it's just, man, like I just haven't seen the house. It's still occupied by someone. I have to evict them. I have to get rid of them. It's gonna be a struggle. So I really don't know what to do, guys. I think I'm gonna go for it. Maybe put 238, see what they say. Because once you throw in closing costs, you're gonna be up around the 240 mark. 100K rehab, 340. Holding costs, maybe 30K. Utilities, private money lenders, evictions, and then commissions when I sell it or refi on the refinance is all gonna be about 30K. So I'm gonna be all in at like 370 and the house is worth 420. So 50K equity, 50K spread. Not bad, not the greatest. I would really wanna see about 80K equity. Normally 20% equity is what you wanna see. So you can do a cash out refi at 80% and be all in, no money out of pocket. But yeah, so that's just an update. It's a HUD-backed property loan. They're firm on 240, and it's up to me to decide if I want to go up to that price or not. All right, so I had countered that 138 they were asking me to counter. However, I received this email here that says, the seller has rejected the $238,000 bid. Please advise if you could increase it to $241,000 and we can see if Xome can contribute the remaining $4,700 to make the deal work, or we'll have to return it to auction. So basically I won the bid at 230. They made me go up to 238 and now they're wanting me to go up to 241 to make the deal work. And I told them I will pass. I've made a great offer at 230 and the property's gone to auction twice. And they said, thank you, we will return to auction accordingly. So that's possibly the end of the journey now. I don't feel comfortable going up to 241 on the house, even though I think that's a good price for the home. It's just the unknown with it still being occupied and getting those people out. And that's not a big deal. I can do an eviction. Like I said, for a personal home, that would have been doable. I would have had some equity. So you should see shortly that the house is back on the auction block and they're gonna keep pushing until they get to 241. So it's now a week later and I see that the house has went back to auction, and this time someone did bid above the reserve price. As you can see here, the final bid of $250,000. The reserve has been met and is under contract now. So it feels like I lost out on a good deal because I could have had this same house for $241,000 when Xome offered to cover the rest of the fees to get to the reserve price. But it is what it is, right? There was a lot of risk. don't know the condition of the home, don't know about the occupancy status. You're gonna have to do an eviction no matter what. And then the quit claim deed is a little risky, so I would have done my own title company. And at the end of the day, I'm not forcing a deal. Like, yeah, I would have loved to use it as a personal residence, but there's nothing wrong with my current home. I love my current home as well. So it's no rush, right? I have to find a good deal that's worth my time. And the market is a lot colder right now. It's not a seller's market, it's a buyer's market. So as a flip, I would have to have been more conservative, even though it's a good area and it would sell quick if I design it right. I'm not trying to force a deal. I'm being conservative right now. And the person that bought it at $250, it's still a good deal. We looked at comps, and an as-is home this size probably would have gone for $270 to $280, and they're getting it for $250. So it's still a good deal for someone. And I feel like I could have gotten this. I should have been more aggressive, but at the same time, right now is not the time to be aggressive for flips. Although it's a good area, I probably would have made money. I just didn't want to force a deal. And maybe I should have. Maybe I was just too scared to try this new way of finding deals and buying at auction. So I hope this video was helpful if you ever thought about buying a house through an auction. If you did, please like the video. If you have any other comments or things you want me to go over about the auction, just comment below and I'll answer it. And subscribe to the channel for more content like this.